Now, whenever I have a sweet tooth, and it happens quite often, there's a few go-to desserts or pastries that I always kind of use or make. One of them is a recipe today for my pasta Flora. Pasta Flora is a very Greek dessert that doesn't sound so Greek. And it's basically a nice pastry base with some jam on top. It's absolutely delicious, and it's very, very easy to make. So, first things first, I'm going to preheat my oven 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 155, 160 degrees Celsius. Get that off, preheating, and out of the way. Now, I'm going to use my mixer for this, let it do all the work, and it's going to go into two phases. The first part is going to be using my whip or my whisk, and the second part is going to be using the dough hook for the dry ingredients. So first things first, I'm using 250 grams of butter. I'm going to let you on a little secret. A lot of these recipes call for unsalted butter. Most of my baking, I use salted butter. You're going to have to sprinkle a little salt anyway. I just put it in ready from the butter. So that's that. I'm also going to beat in 2 tablespoons of sugar. Nice and easy. Going to drop my mixer here and just start whipping this up until it becomes combined and pale. All right, so that took maybe 3 minutes, and it's exactly where we want. The next part of this, I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's going to go in here. I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's going to go in there. Actually, let me make life easier for me. I'm going to take 1 egg, beat that in there as well. That's going to go in there. And the zest of 1 orange. Very simple. This is going to give it a nice pop of flavor. You could also use lemon if you like. I personally am an orange kind of guy, especially now around the holidays. Will definitely do the trick for me. And also, just so you know, be very careful you get the orange part and not the part underneath, because that's the really sour part, and that's what we definitely don't want. So that's about it there. So that's perfect. Let me scoop this away here. And I'll just take this. So you're looking more or less about a tablespoon of orange zest will go into this as well. Perfect. Just like that. And let it go until it's thoroughly combined. And finally, some Greek brandy. So you're going to do about 1, 2, 3 or so tablespoons of Greek brandy will go into this. And again, just start hitting it up again. And already the smells are starting in here. It's fantastic. Actually, while that's beating, what I would do as well is just let me stop this real quick and try scraping the sides of your bowl. What will happen is sometimes, or most times, your butter will actually stick to the sides, and you're not going to get a very even mix. So just keep that in mind for this. All right, now at this stage of the game, what you want to do is swap out your wire whip for our dough hook. And now what we're going to start doing is incorporating our flour. And for this, I'm using 3 cups all-purpose flour. And bring it in slowly, because it's the whole Casper effect. You don't want to wind up looking like Casper, especially if you're wearing like darker clothing. Not good. So just start hitting that up and slowly mixing that in to combine. All right, so that's the last of our dough going in. Just let that go. And then ultimately what we're going to have to do is knead it a little bit on our board as well. Believe me when I tell you, you're going to have a spatula close by for this because it is a dry dough. You're going to have to also do a little scraping of the bowl on the sides, which is totally fine, but just to keep that in mind. While that's going on there, time to do a little planning ahead. So I'm going to take a little bit of flour here, just work on my board here, just like that, as well as the peacemaker. I'll tell you about this. In my house growing up, this was like the judge and jury all in one. When this came out, it was like silence. All right, I think we're good there. My dough hook is out and it's coming out clean, which is exactly what we want. It's perfect. I'm gonna take this off now and just dump my dough, which is pretty dry, and my bowl is pretty clean. Just leave that here and I'll get it together on my board. All right, now what I'm going to find is this thing here. And what you're going to do here is you're going to cut your dough into thirds. And basically you're going to leave 2/3 for the bottom. And we'll put this aside, the 1/3 for the top. Now, for our bottom here, what I'm going to do very simply, I am using a 9x13 pan. Now, here's the thing with this. I'm going to have to butter this. So I'm just going to take a little piece of butter here and just very, very carefully, just use the butter itself and just all around the edges and everywhere, smear it with butter. And that way it'll prevent your the dough, the pasta flora dough, from sticking. And frankly, butter makes everything better, and who doesn't like butter? Well, unless you're like Jenny Craig. So now, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take my dough, put it in here. I'm going to use all of it. Don't want to waste any of this goodness. I'm going to take, actually, instead of using the big, my big dough, my big rolling pin, I'm just going to use this a little bit here. And this is the small pin that I have. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten my dough down, just like this. And I'm going to start just rolling it out. Now, this is the bottom layer of my pasta flora. So you just want to get it enough to coat the bottom of your pan. All right. So that's the bottom layer of my pasta flora done, ready to go to the next part. Now for my filling, I'm going to keep this fairly traditional, and I'm going to be using an apricot jam. I'm going to use a little offset spatula here to kind of pour this over into my pastry here. And this is absolutely delicious. This is one of these things you can make. Also, you can make your own apricot jam, but in the real world, we really don't have much time for that. So I'm just going to use store-bought, and you can just use whatever kind you have. By the way, you could also use strawberry, raspberry, any kind of berry will definitely work for this. And slowly now, just spread it around evenly to get a nice even layer throughout. Nothing to this. All right, that's perfect right there. My pasta flora, or my jam, my apricot jam, is already spread out. We're going to do something a little bit different with ours. We're going to do little circles. And all I'm going to do is take a cookie cutter and make little circles for each piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this here and watch. These little discs are what actually are going to be my pattern for the top. And that, my friends, is my pasta flora. But before we pop this into our oven, I'm going to take one yolk, very simply, and do an egg wash on the top And just one egg yolk will go in there with just a splash of water. Let me grab a little fork here. It's not complicated. And just make your egg wash. Like I said, black is definitely the color of choice when you're handling flour. So you take this, and on each one, you just dab a little bit of the egg wash. So now, my pasta flora is ready to go. I'm gonna pop this into my 350 degree for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until the top pastry is actually nice and golden brown. All right, so my pasta flora is ready to go. It's baked. It took about 35 minutes to get it the way I like. Now, this is a little different than the standard pasta flora with the lattice dough on top. What's critical here for this, and really the whole name of the game in terms of presentation, is allowing this to cool for at least 45 minutes to an hour after it bakes. Once it does that, it has a chance to firm up, set up, and it should be like a better end result. So let me grab a little plate here just to try. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little piece, just a little sample piece. So nice and easy. I don't know about you guys, but no matter how many drawers I have or whatever, I still have like my shit all over the place. It's insane. All right, let me take this now. Just pull out a piece without screwing this up too much. Well, the first piece, oh, there it is. That's not too bad at all. Look at that. There we go. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Look how that turned out there. It's absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. That's exactly what I want. Very nice. Now, you can eat it like this, but if I do, then I'll have nothing to throw. Like, this is already smelling fantastic. I mean, really good. The jam is firmed up. Put on a hot. Oh my gosh. That is so delicious. The main sweetness comes from the jam, the apricot jam. The cookie itself, or the dough, isn't that sweet. Remember, it's only got like a couple of tablespoons of sugar. So that's it, my friends, on this episode on my pasta flora with apricot jam. A little different with the round shapes on top rather than the crisscrossing lattice. I thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already to keep up with what I'm cooking next. For this recipe and many others as well, check me out online at kensgreektable.com. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I will definitely see you on the next one. Bye for now.